Today I would like to make a video about how I have gotten started with programming, what I'm currently doing, and what I'm planning on doing for the future. So to get started off with the first question, which is how I have gotten started with programming, is that back 1 year ago, so in 2015, that's not too long ago for a programmer, I had found myself in the situation where I was a pretty good designer, and I still like to design interfaces today, but I like programming much more. Even though I enjoy minimalistic design and simplistic design and just thinking about how you can solve it visually, but also how to make a good experience, you design those things first before you actually program them. And I found myself in a situation where I wanted to make those things. So I had my designs, my concepts, I had a whole walkthrough, I had a whole storyboard with all screens that I wanted for an app, and I had connections to some people who were programmers, and they should have done the programming work, but we were never able to really work something out. Then I told myself, yeah, I really need to learn how to program, and I really need to learn how to write iOS apps because that's what I liked a lot. So I said, yeah, I need to learn this. I want to write it on my own. And I actually have bought a book about C, the programming language C in German, which is actually right there on my shelf or in my shelf. And it just really sums up a lot of things, such as memory and how to make a variable. Okay, memory is already much into it, but all the basics and how to use memory, how to do input output, how to do calculations and such things. So pretty much everything from the basics to actually also more advanced things, but I've never really read it because I was 14 at that time and I wasn't a math genius or something of that kind. I actually was pretty bad in math. I got quite better now to the end where I got my finals. Now I'm my O levels. Now I'm currently in the school, Holbein Gymnasium, where I am going to do my A levels. And what's going to be about, what is about that, I will tell you later in the currently and future part. So yeah, I did not understand the book, so I decided I would drop it and I went on with design and got better at design. Actually, I was always more a graphic design person more than programming, even though I was always interested in it. I mean, everyone who likes computers kind of likes or the idea of programming, but I really did a lot because when I played games a few years ago when I was 7 years old and till 10, I played games and a lot of people made bots so that your character would hit certain things on its own without without you actually using your computer, so it would get a higher level while you were actually gone. And people programmed those things, and I wanted to understand that too. But at that time, I didn't even know English, so I couldn't do anything really. And I was 7, and I did not understand what they were doing. I didn't even know there were tutorials for such things, even though I looked for them. So, yeah. Last year, then I have looked up, after asking a lot of friends what I should start off with first. They told me JavaScript, they told me PHP, they told me Objective-C, they told me Java and Swift and all of those things. So, how did I know what I should do? How did I know what I wanted to do? Well, easy enough. I have a Mac. I love my Macs. I don't actually have an iPhone anymore. I gave my iPhone to my girlfriend when she happened in Germany. I gave it to her. Yeah, so I don't have an iPhone anymore. I sold my iPad. I don't currently, I think, have an iOS device. My sister has an iPhone, but I don't. I only have my iMac, which I'm recording with right now. It's a 2011 model, and then my MacBook Pro, which is laying here. Yeah, and that thing here, I don't know how to point to this. Like, no, this is my other hoodie. Don't ask me why it's laying there. I actually didn't see it before I recorded the video. So, to get back to the topic, So after asking around, I decided I would use the platform Treehouse. And if you are in Quora, or Quora, I don't know how to pronounce this exactly, I just say Quora. I answer a lot of questions there too. Not too many. If I find cool questions, I answer them. But often I recommend Treehouse to other people for anything. If they want to learn how to make games with C Sharp, they can learn C Sharp and Unity. That's on there. You can learn HTML, you can learn PHP, you can learn full stack JavaScript, you can learn Ruby on Rails. Well, kinda. They don't have much about that, but you can learn Ruby and a bit of Ruby on Rails, the basics at least. You can learn Python, you can learn Java just on its own, Android development, you can learn Swift and Objective-C. They have really great courses for that. They have a Swift 1 series and a Swift 2 series. There's probably going to be a Swift 3 series as well. Did I say 3? I meant 2. If I said 3, I meant 2. But I think they're going to do a Swift 3 series as well. And they also have practices for all that, and they have challenges while you learn with the courses, and it's really good organized, and it's really, really nice. And they also have like a counting system, like you can get points if you accomplish certain things, if you finish a course, if you finish a part of a course, like a section of a course, or you have done a challenge, you get points. And that's pretty cool, because if you're someone who says like, oh yeah, I want to reach those 1,000 points, you keep on learning for the day, and they always tell you with like a graph of the week, like you've done this much today, so the curve goes up, and if it's less, the next day it goes down, and all that. So you kind of know, oh, I've done worse. And some people are really into graphics, and if they see something like a curve that goes down, a graph that goes down a lot, they are like, oh no, I have to do something, I have to study. And I was kind of like that, and over the time I learned a few things. So I used it for learning a bit of Java, but mainly Swift 1 it was back then, so just Swift. I learned it. I didn't know anything about programming really, even though I had tried a bit of C before that. Not when I got the book, but later, just really last summer, I tried it a bit. And then I learned Swift, and I dropped it because it was way too hard for me. I couldn't understand it, no matter how many tutorials I looked up. I don't know, it was kind of hard for me. Then, after a month later, that was when I got into 10th grade. So just so you are not confused, I'm currently in 10th grade again, because I'm at a new school, which is a higher level. And because senior years are going to start next year, I have to redo grade 10, even though I've already graduated with my O levels. For A levels, I have to redo grade 10 again at my current school to get prepared for the next 2 years, which are important for the finals. So yeah, so A levels. To get back to it, I dropped it, and then I wanted to learn JavaScript because I liked the movie The Social Network. That's a bit embarrassing, but I actually am kind of proud of it because that's my story. And I mean, everyone has their story, and often those stories are weird. So I still like, and I liked The Social Network. It's a really great movie, even though it's not completely right, but I just liked the movie. It's a good movie. And because of that, I wanted to learn a programming language, and I asked around some of my friends, such as Jorge Sanz Perez. Sorry, Jorge Sanz Perez. I just call him because I got to know him in English, and so I don't really pronounce it the Spanish way. But yeah, for people who want to complain. So I asked him and a few other people, and I think he said JavaScript because of Node.js, AngularJS, and other people say PHP. And I was continually asking, is that really a good idea to learn that programming language for making web apps like Facebook or Twitter or YouTube? I set the bar really high, but that was just because I didn't know at the time what scale meant. I didn't even know of scale. But in my natural way, I wanted to have a programming language that would scale or support scaling. I mean, probably every language kind of does that, but PHP, for example, is not that great anymore for such things. So if I would start today, I would learn Ruby. But I started learning JavaScript on Treehouse, and I made some apps where you got those alert, like not really apps, but you got those websites where an alert box appeared and another one you were able to do calculations. I had a calculator. I had a physics formula calculator that I made for my class. So really just with an alert, you were able to say what did you want to do, and then it solved your equations for you. And I did that, and that was not really complex, but I learned about ifs, and that was really hard at the start because I didn't know about anything of that. And I practiced everything as variables, constants, if statements, functions, while loop, for loop, all those things completely new, switch statements. I didn't know anything. And through that, I learned much. I learned very, very much. And then I decided I wanted to drop it when there was the AngularJS part coming to me. So I had to learn, or I was about to learn AngularJS to actually make web apps, but then I dropped it again. Yeah, I know I kept dropping, and I often do that still, but that's actually not bad because it seems like it helps me somehow. I looked back at Swift, which then was Swift 2 with a new teacher on Treehouse, and I understood a lot. So I remembered a few things that I actually learned in the first Swift course that I was taking part in, or that I just watched. So I remembered a lot of the things, and a lot of them were similar to JavaScript. And in Swift 2, everything was easy for me. I started learning really quickly. Of course, when it got more complicated than just the basics, as variables, constants, functions, what I have just said, I got stuck again, but I didn't stop. But by the way, in the meantime, between JavaScript and the first time I did Swift, I tried myself in learning Objective-C, which I didn't succeed in. And a lot of my friends said, no, don't learn it. You don't need it anymore. All apps are going to be written in Swift. I mean, if you are currently a professional programmer in the market who works full-time, you probably need Objective-C because a lot of apps are still written in Objective-C. You can build bridges, but often they probably still want you to write Objective-C, even though many major companies also go over to Swift now. But that's not the point. It's just I learned Swift 3 and I kept going, and then I made my first app. I actually didn't expect I would make an app, like a proper app that actually does something. It wasn't extraordinary, but it did something. I thought I would make one after a year, which is not even now. So, and by the time of right now, I've already made stuff with JSON. If you don't know what that is, that's just data from the internet. I worked with databases. I worked with Swift for also a web app with Vapor, which is a framework. I made a lot of YouTube tutorials about Swift. I did core data in Swift 3, even though there was not really an explanation online how to do it. And yeah, I did a lot of things. I've done a lot of things over the last year. And yeah, that was my story basically. My first app was also part of Treehouse, where you had an app that just showed text and a button underneath, and when you clicked it, the color of the background changed and it showed a new fact, and those facts were hard-coded in just a few. So that was not extremely great, but it was a start, and I was really proud of it. I had my iPhone at that time still, an iPhone 4S, and I went to the kitchen where my dad was and his best friend and my mom, and they were eating steak or something, and I ran into the room and was like, look at this, I made my first app. And everyone was really impressed because a month before that I hadn't been able to write any of that. So yeah, that's pretty cool, or that was pretty cool. And then I made a contact list that also was hard-coded and would just practice object-oriented programming with that in Swift 2. And then I learned how to do stuff with JSON also over Treehouse, and then I made my own app for a Minecraft server to read data. In Swift 3, I've rewritten it, and it's not out because I don't have a developer account, and I don't see how I actually want one, but I used the money on getting to my girlfriend, because she's in America, so I can't really do that, and that's okay. I don't need it much to practice how to make apps. I also love open source. At the start, I didn't understand open source. I looked on GitHub all the time because I loved the concept. I was like, a social network for programmers, this is cool. Okay, it's not really a social network in that sense, but over the time I learned to love it, and I love open source. It's pretty great, even though I'm not extremely great at it, and I don't contribute much generally. Like, I could probably do much more in the community, and I would love to. I'm trying to find something, but I mean, I'm not the greatest yet, or even though this word doesn't exist, the bestest yet. I'm not the best current at this point of time, and I still have to learn a lot. I want to learn about functional programming in Swift 3 because that has changed a bit, I think, because I tried to learn it with the Swift 2 variant in Swift 3, but that didn't work. So I also want to learn Haskell, the programming language. So let's talk about actually what I want to do now. Haskell, the programming language. Maybe not exactly at this point of time, but sometime in the future because it's a functional programming language. Then anytime in the future, I also want to learn Prolog because it's a logic language. And you may have heard in the last video that I'm trying myself on Ruby on Rails, so with the programming language Ruby. I like Ruby, it's a cool language, but I also have a book also on my shelf, also in German, because I actually buy my books in English now. Generally I buy my books in English, but I saw it in the store and I found it really interesting, so I bought it. It's called Data Science on Scratch, I think it's in English. In German it's something completely different, and it's with Python, so I'm learning Python, the version 2.7. I think the current one is 3.5, and I'm learning about machine learning, about data structures and stuff like K-nearest and the Bayes theorem and the binary search trees, I think, are in there too. I'm not sure. And also linear algebra, and generally a crash course in Python, and all of those things. So it's really hard now. I'm further into the book, like 100 pages, after not even a week. Well, it's not extraordinarily much. I would have read it much more, but school was really much this week, and I couldn't really read a lot of it. So yeah, basically that's what I'm trying to do. Now I'm going to read this book, and I'm trying to understand it. The code is on GitHub, by the way, of this book itself, the official repository, but I mean my repository is on there too, where I put all the things that I find I have to practice. Because often I just try to follow it with my mind. If it doesn't work, or if I don't understand it, I'm coding it in order to understand it. And yeah, that's basically it. And for my future, well, I've just told you which languages I want to learn. For programming, I don't want to become an app developer, really. I mean, I like the concept, and I will probably do something in this way at the start. But I have a vision. For something, and it does not involve making apps exactly. It involves computer science a lot, but also another subject. And I would like to study at a university after my A levels. And I kind of have my favorites, but that comes up with how my life will continue. So my favorites would be, for example, Oxford and Cambridge, because I like them. I read about them a lot. I watched videos of YouTubers who go there, and yeah, by the way, Jake Wright is one of them. I mean, he's probably most famous of the whole school, but he graduated, and he's really an inspiration to me, so go check him out if you want to. He's an inspiration to me, and Cambridge and Oxford are really great. American universities or colleges, I'm not really that interested because I can't afford them at all. Even Cambridge and Oxford will be hard because my family is really middle class, and I would try to work beside it to get the money, but I mean it's still unrealistic because it's like 9,000 per year, and you have to pay for dorms and so on, or a place to live if you, yeah. So that will be expensive still too, but I don't want to study in Germany, and for the future I want to go to somewhere else, probably Canada or the Pacific Northwest in the United States, or generally Pacific Northwest, which is also Canada. So yeah, those are my plans for programming and school and computer science. So I really love computer science. I want to study that. I really like it. And by the way, for people who want to get into programming, here a little advice. Treehouse is a good platform. I'm not making any advertisement for them because I'm paid or anything. Of course, now my channel's not big or so, but I really like them. They really help me today. I don't see so much inspiration in the platform anymore for myself. I read more, and I actually watch more YouTube videos or read on Stack Overflow or Stack Overflow. And for computer science questions, I look on, like, not programming related, but theories and so on. I look on Quora, also a great platform. And yeah, so just try to find out what you really like about computer science. If you really want to do programming, if you love games on a computer, do C#, which is also in Treehouse with Unity. It's really fun. If you want to do websites, probably learn JavaScript or now TypeScript. First, probably learn JavaScript, then learn TypeScript. If you want to do more data things, you want to probably do Python, or if you want to be really cool, you can learn Haskell, which is probably not going to be your first language, or Prolog if you want to do logic. But those are not going to be your first languages. So start with something easier, something maybe more human inspired, for more human language inspired, which is Ruby or Python, for example, or CoffeeScript. But just try to do something that will keep you excited, something that will have you work on the projects for a really, really good while. And that's the most important thing. If you want to do iOS apps or Mac apps, watchOS, tvOS apps, go for Swift 3, even though it's really new, but go for it. And that's basically it. There are tons of other programming languages out there. If you want to do Java development, you can do a lot with that. You can even make Android apps. If you love Minecraft, you can make Minecraft plugins and mods and so on. It's also really fun. And yeah, that's basically it. And there's also Skill if you want to do a database language. Also really useful, a good skill for any app developer too. So yeah, thank you for watching. If you have any questions regarding programming, my life, my advice on your career, if that matters, I don't know how you value my advice. And yeah, I'm always there. Just feel free to write a comment below. You can also ask me on Twitter or whatever. You can follow me on all the platforms that are on my channel or in the description below most of the time. And you can also write me an email if you are someone who wants to have more privacy. My email address is on my channel, but I'll mention it really quickly. It's like L-A, Muller, MULLER, @protonmail, just like a proton in physics, protonmail.com. And that's basically it. And you can write me whenever. Some people have already done that, and I will answer as soon as I can, which is most of the time. If I'm stressed out with school, which can happen more often now because my school is really stressful, I will answer really as fast as I can. And yeah, thank you for watching, as I've said, and I'll see you in the next video, which you can also tell me, by the way, what it should be. See you later. Bye bye.